I have never watched a show that was so frustrating that I ended up having to come back later on just to finish it. Baby Reindeer is one of those shows where it's good, but oh my god, is it frustrating. I think the last time I've been this frustrated in a show was when Maid had came out. And if you guys don't know, Maid is a show about this lady who's in this abusive relationship and she ends up leaving it. She has this daughter, and then she ends up having to, like live off on her own. But then she keeps doing things that just kind of piss you off. And it's like, why are you doing this? That's what this show is like. Some things happen and you're like, okay, cool, you're in the clear. And then they do some dumb stuff and it's like, okay, what's going on here? So like I said, Baby Reindeer is a really good show, but there's some moments in here that are both frustrating and then just very disturbing. Some people might not be able to get through it, and it took me 2 days to get through everything. Normally with like a mini series like this, I can just binge through it, but no, I had to stop a few times to finish this. I also ended up restarting the show because I felt like I missed a few things, and I did because turns out, and I don't know how I managed to miss this, but this is based on a true story. But another interesting thing about that is the main guy actor is actually the guy that is based off of. Like, he played his own part, which I thought was one, very brave, and two, really interesting. Especially finding out all the stuff that he went through, you would think that maybe he would have someone else play his part, but no, he's a trooper, like honestly. So the show Baby Reindeer is on Netflix, and when I was first recommended to watch this, I was like, why would I want to watch a show about a baby reindeer? And then I saw it and I was like, okay, this seems kind of interesting. Then I started to watch it and I was like, nope, this is very frustrating. The show is about a comedian who is trying to, just move on with his life. There's this girl who comes in who he's not interested into, even in the slightest, and she ends up becoming this mega stalker towards him. And for whatever reason, he decides to entertain it, and instead of just like breaking it off, because this whole show could have been over, but then I guess we wouldn't have a show. But it's one of those things. And things start to happen to him where you start to really feel for him. And you're like, dude, like, this is terrible. Go to the police. But then he does that and not really much gets done. They don't really take it serious. But I guess he also doesn't really take it serious on his own. And you find out later on why he doesn't take it too serious. It's kind of hard to talk about this show without spoiling anything. But there were some things that happened to the main character that explain why he's the way that he is and why he does the things that he does, and it really makes you start to feel bad for him. But then he does things that make you start to hate him, and I started to hate him past like towards episode 4, and I was like, yeah, no, like this dude clearly enjoys this, so whatever happens to him at this point is on him. But then they reel you back in, you start to care for him even more, and he has this switch up, and it's like, okay, great, things are looking good, everything's perfect, and as soon as that starts to happen, more and more bad things begin. Now, I will give you a warning. There is one episode or two episodes that deal with, sexual abuse, and it's probably going to be really tough for people to watch, especially if you've been through this kind of thing. I would say well, you can't really skip it, but when watching it, just be careful. It's some tough things that happen. And yeah, there's a disclaimer at the beginning of that episode when, that stuff happens, so just another warning. So yeah, the show definitely isn't an easy watch, but I would recommend it to people to watch it. But just again, just be careful. It's not one of those happy shows. There really isn't a good ending to this if you really think about it, but that's up to you to decide. After watching the show, I decided to do some more digging on trying to find out the real story of how everything else turned out. And, I looked into both actors and tried to see, like, okay, how did their life turn out? What's currently going on with them? And I just have to say, some of the things that were in the show are a bit extreme to the point where I was like, okay, this is unbelievable, but these things happen. So, again, that goes back to me saying, at first I started to care for the main character, but towards the end, I didn't care anything about him. And I don't know if that was the point of they were trying to do in the show, if they're like trying to do this like repeated cycle, but I stopped caring for the main character by episode 4, if I'm just being honest with you. Although, yeah, the things that he, went through is pretty sad, but a lot of the things that he went through, he brought upon himself. And it started to endanger other people and even bring danger to his own home. And he still decided not to do anything about it. And some of his, comments about certain situations that happened kind of bothered me too, because I'm like, dude, like, these people are getting assaulted and you're trying to joke about it. Like, take it to the police. But he doesn't. So again, that goes back to me saying I just stopped caring for the main character. They're both terrible people. Well, guys, if you guys watched the show, let me know what you guys thought about it down in the comments below. And if you plan to watch the show, hopefully this review helps you decide on that. And I hope to see you guys in the next one. Sunway review, take me on a